Hi guys, it is April from Getting Huggo With It. Today we're talking about 2020 releases that I am so thrilled are coming out in just a few short weeks or months. Let's get into it. So I was planning on doing just one video about 2020 releases coming out. And then I realized just how many books I'm excited about, and I have to split this up into 3 parts because there are that many amazing books coming out. So we're going to just dive in a little bit during Vlogmas right now, and then I'll have 2 more coming up pretty soon. So the first book that I want to talk to you about is a book called Magpie Lane by Lucy Atkins. This book is coming out in April of 2020, obviously. And this is written by the author who wrote The Night Visitor, which I read last year, or in 2019, I should say, and I really enjoyed it. It was more mystery, a little bit of gothic, than thriller. But it's a book that really went under the radar, I think, in 2019, and I really enjoyed it. The writing was superb. So in this book, an 8-year-old girl disappears. She's the daughter of an Oxford master, and the police turn to Dee, who is her nanny. And Dee kind of reminisces about her time taking care of this child, and she describes the house as being eerie and ancient, and also the family is being incredibly dysfunctional. This little girl's father is this Oxford master, and he is married, I think remarried. I think the little girl's mother had died, and so he's remarried. That woman is pregnant. Her name is Maria. And then she starts to describe the little girl as well. So this little girl's name is Felicity. She is nearly mute. She barely speaks. She is still very much grieving her mother, and she sees ghosts. So this whole book, you are trying to figure out whether Dee is telling the truth or not, and you're trying to decipher what happened to this little girl. It sounds fantastic. Next up is Lady Clementine by Marie Benedict. This is coming out in early January, which is exciting. And I've never read any Marie Benedict before. She writes a lot of historical fiction. I've never read her before, but this story sounds fascinating because it follows Winston Churchill's wife. And I love that. I don't usually love stories about famous people, but there's something about this. I don't know much about Winston Churchill's wife at all, other than like the bits and pieces I've seen of her, I should say, in The Crown. So I really don't know anything about her, but she in and of herself sounds like quite a fascinating woman. She apparently saved Winston Churchill's life twice. Anyway, and she, like, who could be married to Winston Churchill? You'd have to be, I think, a pretty strong character. I also just love the name Clementine. Isn't that a sweet name? Okay, next up is a book that I think everyone is going to be excited about and is very much eagerly anticipating, and might be the only YA I've ever enjoyed. The Hunger Games series is getting a prequel. This is called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. This is supposed to be coming out in May. There's still not a ton of information about this book, but it says that we're revisiting the world of Panem 64 years before the Hunger Games series. And we start out on the morning of the reaping of the 10th Hunger Games. That's all I needed to know. I am so excited about this because that means there could be a whole other movie series as well. I am very pumped for this. Next is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I have come to absolutely adore Alice Feeney this year. So His and Hers is coming out in July, which is very exciting. I think it just got a cover as well. In this book we follow Anna, who works for the BBC as a journalist, I think. there is someone threatening to basically take her job, which she's worked very hard to get and get to this level in her career. And she'll do anything to keep it. And so she agrees to cover this murder. And the murder has taken place in Blackdown, which is a small little village that she actually grew up in. And in the end, of course, the victim is someone that she knows. She's one of her childhood friends. And it doesn't seem like she's only covering it. It sounds like she's going to get completely enraptured in it. Meanwhile, we also meet her ex-husband, DCI Jack Harper. He is actually working back in Blackdown. I don't know if he grew up there as well. In any case, when he discovers the body of this woman, who he really well knows, he decides not to tell anyone that he knows the victim. And then he realizes over time that he's actually becoming a suspect in his own murder investigations. So you get these dual points of view. I am very eager to read this. It sounds like a really good character study, which I enjoy in a thriller. And Alice Feeney does that very well. So that is coming out in July. Next up is a book that I don't know if it's going to become really big or not. Haven't heard any buzz about this, but it sounds really fascinating. It's called I Want You to Know We're Still Here. It's a post-Holocaust memoir by Esther Safran Foer. This is coming out at the very end of March, and it's nonfiction, and this is what is so fascinating about this. This is written from a woman whose parents both survived the Holocaust. She's lived her whole life, or much of her life, knowing this, and they would open up a little bit about it. One day, her mom really opens up and just plants a little bomb in her life and says, oh yes, your father had a wife and child who died in the Holocaust. So Esther is completely shocked and surprised by this, and she decides to try and find out what happened to them and learn about them, because this is her half-sister. And all she has is a black and white photo of them, and she dives into their story. And that sounds like a story I need to know. Next up is The Other Bennet Sister. This is by Janice Hadlow, and it's coming out again at the end of March. And this follows Pride and Prejudice. It's basically a Pride and Prejudice retelling. I don't read a ton of those. I think I've only read Longbourn as a retelling, but this sounds fascinating because it's about Mary. Now, if you'll remember Pride and Prejudice, Mary was the kind of, well, there were many annoying sisters, but she was the kind of very serious, somber sister who was slightly embarrassing, but you read from her perspective, and apparently this is written in such a way that like you just feel for Mary so much, and I really want to know her story, so I didn't need to know much more than that. The Animals at Lockwood Manor by Jane Healy is next. This one is coming out early March. This takes place in August of 1939. We've got a historical fiction book here, and it sounds so different, which is exciting. So this follows Hetty Cartwright, and she is tasked with evacuating and taking care of the collection of mammals from the Natural History Museum. It's wartime. She has to get them out and make sure that they survive the war. So she brings them to Lockwood Manor. When she gets there, she gets a little bit more than she bargained for because some of the animals go missing. And Hetty is actually thinking that someone or something is actually stalking her through this old house. And there's also this mystery surrounding Lucy Lockwood, which is the daughter of the family who live at Lockwood Manor. And I think Hetty gets really enraptured by her, and she doesn't know why Lucy is so traumatized. There's a lot of mystery in here. It sounds very gothic. I am here for this book. It sounds great. And last but not least is Skincare, The Ultimate No-Nonsense Guide by Carolyn Hirons. Now, Carolyn Hirons is a woman who has this amazing blog and this great little YouTube channel. And she is a skincare like goddess. She's wonderful. She's British, she's hilarious, but she also knows skin. And I know this is kind of different for this channel to talk about skincare and books about skincare, but she is coming out with a book about how to get your best skin and how to solve certain problems for your skincare issues. So if you have dull skin, she'll take care of you. If you have acne, she'll take care of you. She's really, really well known and loved, especially over the pond in Britain. She's very, very well known. And she's coming out with a book that I think is going to be great. It's coming out at the end of April, and I definitely want to read it. So that is all I'm sharing with you in this video. I'm going to have 2 more coming up pretty soon for you, and we'll cover more. It's going to be a great year for books, I'm telling you. Let me know in the comments below, is there a book that I mentioned here that you are excited about? I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye!